If you're a fight fan, this is the matchup that won't let you sit still. The most dynamic technician of his era, Terrence "Bud" Crawford, squaring up against the most powerful box office name in the sport, Canelo Alvarez, at super middleweight. Skill versus switch hitter versus pressure counterpuncher. Pound for pound genius versus a champion who lives at 168 pounds. Before we get into the arguments and the evidence from all sides, jump into the comments and tell me where you're watching from, what weight you think about should be at, and how you see it playing out. Hit like so more boxing fans see this breakdown, and subscribe with notifications on so you're first to know when we get official details on venue, ring size, gloves, and judges. Your take is part of this conversation. Let's start with the question at the heart of every Crawford versus Canelo prediction. Can Bud hurt Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds? Not outbox him. Hurt him. Plenty of analysts, including some of the most respected voices in boxing media, agree on one thing. If you can box and move, if you can set traps and exit clean, you can outpoint Canelo. The debate is whether you can do that against a naturally bigger man for 12 rounds without making him pay enough to earn his respect. Because if Canelo doesn't respect your power, he'll crowd your feet and hunt your body until your legs feel like lead. One veteran reporter framed it with a long view. He reminded everyone that Canelo was once tagged badly on an HBO undercard early in his U.S. career against Jose Miguel Cotto, Miguel's older brother, and for a hot minute, you could hear media roll gasp. Then, for the next decade and a half, against a parade of hitters, Canelo's chin barely blinked. He shared that memory not to say Canelo can't be dented, but to underline how rarely we've seen it since. That's why he questioned Crawford's ability to damage Canelo at super middleweight, especially after Bud's recent venture to junior middleweight didn't produce a statement stoppage. Crawford did a professional, disciplined thing against Israel Madrimov at 154. He won, but it was close enough for Madrimov's corner to argue loudly for their man. If Crawford didn't overwhelm a big, sturdy 154-pounder with clean power, what does that say about his ability to shake the sturdiest man at 100? Can solve Canelo in a way most can't. One prominent national commentator didn't even hesitate when asked who wins. Crawford, he said quickly and twice. He explained the shape of the fight he envisions. Canelo is always prepared and always professional, but in recent years he's become more set-piece in his offense. Looking to load up, fighting in flat-footed phases, headhunting in ones and twos. Crawford, by contrast, is a composer in motion. He switches from orthodox to southpaw without telegraphing, builds off the jab, uses head and shoulder feints to freeze feet, and stacks 3- and 4-piece combinations before the counter is there. In that view, Bud will outpoint Canelo with speed, rhythm changes, and angles. No knockout prediction, just a clear decision for the faster man, who refuses to trade in the pocket longer than 2 beats. Teddy Atlas added a layer that's resonating. Size. The question isn't whether Canelo is really good. He is. It's whether Crawford is special enough to make size secondary by making choices that deny Canelo the positions he needs. Greatness, Atlas argued, lives in timing, precision, and adaptability more than it does in biceps and neck exercises. If you believe Bud is a once-in-a-generation switch hitter with championship economy, you believe he can make a 168-pounder fight in 140 and 147-pound patterns. Miss, get touch, turn, reset, until the rounds accumulate in the smaller man's column. Al Bernstein, who has described more great nights than most of us have seen, emphasized the unpredictability factor that makes Crawford such a nightmare to prepare for. There's no rigid template for what Bud will do. He'll be a slick counterpuncher for 3 minutes, then transform into a pressure fighter and walk you down. He'll circle right, giving you all looks, then in an instant switch and step to his left in orthodox, changing the lead hand in the line of the right hook or the straight. That variability is poison for a counterpuncher like Canelo, who thrives on rhythm, on timing your first step, on catching you when you overcommit. If you can't read the next 3 beats of Crawford's sequence, you're always just a touch late. And that means you're eating little shots that judges notice even when they don't wobble you. Gareth A. Davies made a case built on experience. He pointed out that Crawford's been at this level, championship level, for over 15 years. Think about that. Over a decade and a half solving styles, never giving you the same round twice, learning exactly how much is enough when the goal is winning, and not entertaining anyone except the three people at ringside. Davies compared that rhythm of do enough and shut the office door to Floyd Mayweather and Pernell Whitaker. He added one note of restraint. He's not sure that a slightly slowed version of Canelo who likes to load up could find himself frustrated if Crawford's timing and feet are sharp. Keep that idea of enough tucked in your pocket. Crawford doesn't care about proving a point in every exchange. He cares about doing what's necessary to win. He'll press when a read tells him the time is right, the way he did in that famous moment against Shawn Porter when someone told him ringside he was down on the cards. 1 round later, the fight was over. That gear change is real. It doesn't rely on punching power as much as it relies on a fighter's instinct to sense the opening and slam the door. Let's pull back from the talent and talk physics. Super middleweight is Canelo's house. He unified the division with patient, clinical pressure and bodywork that makes even elite fighters hesitate to throw. He survives in there because the chin is granite, the torso is strong, and he digs the body like a man. He has opponents larger than him on the inside because his lower body and neck are absurdly conditioned. That's not highlight fluff. It's mechanics. A well-known analyst recorded how Canelo leverages legs and core to bully a larger man in a clinch. It wasn't pretty, but it spoke to super middleweight strength you can't train in 90 days. Crawford is strong too. His wrestling background gave him balance, leverage, and an instinctive understanding of how to win position in tight spaces. But none of that erases the fact that 168 is a different kind of grind. What Bud can count on is footwork and ring generalship that refuse to give Canelo still targets. If you're building Bud's game plan from the ground up, here's how it looks. Stay outside Canelo's set position. Change levels with the jab, head and chest. Step diagonally off the center line after 2 and 3 punch sequences. Touch the body selectively, not greedily. Never finish in the middle, where Canelo's right hand can catch you on exit. The most of being a switch left cross through the center. Flip to orthodox to lead with the right hand and step off left to avoid the left hook. Above all, manage minutes. The only thing as important as winning minutes in a Canelo fight is not losing them by standing still. Judges won't give you rounds because you're cute. They'll give you rounds because you made him take pictures while you scored. Flip it and draw Canelo's blueprint. Take the center early with the jab to the chest and shoulder. Be first to the body. Don't chase Bud's head. Hunt his hips and stay patient while he shows you patterns. Punch with him. He's faster, but if you time his second and third shot, you can beat him to fourth with a short hook. Use the right uppercut under the middle when he leans to exit, then crowd with shoulder and forearm to force resets against the ropes. Over 12 rounds, tax the legs. It may not look like much early. If you're Canelo, you want to make round 9 feel like round 20. That's when opportunities snowball. Now, the scorecards live in the middle of all. Put it bluntly, he picks Crawford by decision because he can't see anyone in this era knocking Canelo out. That feels right, and it puts pressure on a different set of variables. Ring size, pace, officiating style. In a 22-foot ring, Bud has a full dance floor to pivot, slide, and reset. In an 18-footer, the walls close faster. Canelo's pressure feels heavier. A fast break referee who doesn't permit prolonged inside wrestling helps Bud keep it clean. A ref who lets shoulders and forearms work favors Canelo's mauling phases. None of those factors decide a fight on their own, but they shave off the edges. They matter. There's also the legacy noise, the emotional weight that trails this conversation whether the fighter's invited or not. Canelo supporters point to a resume that runs from 154 to 175, with belts collected and super middleweight unified. They remind you that a loss to a smaller man carries a special sting in how fans remember champions. These are the scars big names carry. When you follow someone moving up, history can be cruel, even when the circumstances were ambitious and brave. Crawford supporters, on the other hand, See a climb that would cement him in the pound-for-pound king argument of the four-belt era. If he walks into 168 and schools the man who rules there, he'll have done something rare in modern boxing. Stepped up multiple divisions and defeated a true lineal-feeling champion in his home weight. You don't do that and stay in the same conversation. You move up one. There's a human layer to this too. Mindset. Canelo doesn't go searching for outside validation anymore, and he says so. He believes he's the best. He fights because he loves the work. Whether you agree doesn't really factor into how he prepares. Crawford, by his own framing, is chasing the biggest, most defining fight available. He called Canelo out because that's the moment that changes the conversation around his career forever. Two mentalities, both powerful. One saying, I am, the other saying, let me prove it. That collision can make for a special night. Sean Porter, who knows Crawford's gears from experience, predicted a performance tailored to take away Canelo's best looks. In his mind, the things Bud does best, timing, economy, composure, don't erode when the lights are brightest. They sharpen. He expects a Crawford who fights to a plan so complete and disciplined that it forces Canelo into his plan B early. That is a strong stance from a fighter who's shared round with Bud and understands what those little edges feel like up close. Not everyone approaching the fight has done so with nuance. A comedian offered a crude, historical generalization about American slicksters getting the better of Mexican legends in some classic matchups, setting aside the stereotyping that kind of claimed drag with it. The point buried within is about styles, not identities. Timing and defense have trump pressure in many and timing in many others. Boxing is not destiny. Its choice is repeated until someone makes a mistake the other prepared for. Canelo is not a caricature of Mexican pressure. He's a layered counterpuncher who now prefers to punish mistakes rather than throw himself into fire. Crawford is not a caricature of an American slickster. He's a mean finisher when he reads at its time. On the business and spectacle front, you can already feel the event machinery warming up. A Mexican icon walking to a call-in of 50,000 in Las Vegas is a guarantee in this sport. If this lands at Allegiant Stadium, start the clock on one of the biggest gates we've seen at 168 pounds. And if it does, Crawford will walk into a stadium where the majority scream against him. Some fighters shrink in that noise. Bud has never been that kind. He converts doubt into focus. That's not sports talk sugar. It's what people who have been around his camp say. One thread that keeps trainers is how prepared both men are going to be. Canelo never shows up off-cycle. He rotates elite sparring partners who mimic southpaw looks and switch hitters specifically to blunt Crawford's advantage. Expect that here. Crawford's team, for their part, will flood camp with compact, heavy-handed punchers who force him to practice exits under fire. Neither side is going to get surprised on fight night by the first look. Surprises are what you manufacture when the other man thinks you're done building layers. Here's a quick tactical scenario to chew on. First 3 rounds. Canelo probes to the chest and arms and crowds the corners, and Crawford jogs the distance between punch and no punch while testing which check hook or straight line is there from each stance. Middle round. Bud starts doubling the jab, sneaking a right hook to body from southpaw and stepping off at 45 degrees. Canelo responds by sneaking the right hand to chest and head range instead of headhunting. Body shots begin to show on Bud's legs. Championship rounds, both men have reads. Bud knows what counters live. Canelo knows how Bud exits on the third shot. That's where judges' eyes start to split. Who's winning the last 30 seconds? Who's winning the first 60? Who's making the other man fight the round they don't want?